So basically, I'm a generative artist. I was pretty much unknown to the communities 2 years ago, but before starting over as a generative artist, I've been a lot of things actually, and the long period of my life when I was a painter with oils, and I was very active on social media on a website named DeviantArt. I don't know if you heard about it, but it was before Facebook, and yeah. And at some point, I just stopped everything because it was very overwhelming, actually. Um, and then 2021 in March, I discovered NFTs, and I jumped right in, dived in completely, and it was really cultural revolution for me. And I decided that I wanted to be part of it. So, I didn't say that I've been a programmer all my life. Started at the age of 8. So, uh, and I decided to try something into NFTs, and I developed a project around plotter drawings. Took me about 6 months to develop something interesting, and I minted my first NFT in September 2021. Yeah, and it's been quite a journey, a crazy one since then. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, you can ask me some questions, and I will try to develop around this. Anybody's here? Hello, hello. Oh, okay. All right. All right.
Hello, sorry, hello Zancan. Nice to meet you. I'm Anton. Really love your work and been watching your work since I entered the space. And your story is very inspiring. And yeah, I would like to know a bit about your inspiration and yeah, what drives you when you creating your artworks and how you develop the ideas of the series that you're creating.
Yes. So inspiration, I tend to think that you don't need to travel the world to seek inspiration, and you can find inspiration surrounding you. It's just the way you look at it. And mostly my inspiration, and you've seen that through my picture, comes from nature and basically my garden. Um, when I discovered NFT, it was shortly after the series of lockdowns that we experienced, and I was lucky to have a garden. And during that period of time, um, I spent a lot of time in my garden and watching just the plant grow and watching the beautiful nature and hearing the birds singing. That was like some kind of blissful moment in the middle of this stressful period where nobody knew where we are going with this virus thing. So yeah, I got closer to nature, and the first reflex that I had when trying to make some plotter drawings with code was to reproduce nature. It wasn't the first time that I was using nature as a subject matter. Nature was very present in my former painting practice. And also with my creative coding, I've been doing a number of times algorithms that were simulating the growth of trees, and so it was pretty natural to me to use the nature, and also well, it goes deeper than that, actually, because when I was gathering information about the NFTs, I was also seeing that what was making the headlines in the NFTs were these huge sales, and I always thought that the financial world, who was very into investing into NFTs, was a part of the population that was disconnected from the real life matters. And I thought that NFTs were a mean for us artists to connect with this part of the population that was disconnected, and maybe build bridges. And I thought that nature was a good way to speak to those people. And I had amazing feedback because making artwork with code, it enables you to speak in some kind of technical visual language that speaks to those people. And I had an amazing feedback of collectors who were looking at nature differently, who understood that there was something missing in their lives, and many of them decided to go on a stroll to do some hiking, and I were seeing Zancan style in the nature itself. So it was very rewarding feedback that I got. Well, so yeah, nature as the main topic in my works, and I don't really want to stop doing works inspired by nature at the moment. But also, I introduce also elements of technology, elements of civilization inside them. For instance, the garden monoliths were inspired by this bond between man and nature across time. And garden monoliths had also a few inspiration right in my garden, because it's a place that has a lot of story in the history, and so it is present also in my work. So I can see there are some other questions on the side. Should I reply to them as well? Yeah, so I see Emily wants to know about the process, or from idea to finished piece. Well, I tend to have a lot of ideas, but I would say ideas, when you create, are about bouncing from one idea to another. So you don't have an idea completely from scratch. It's what you did before becomes an inspiration for new works, and you build on top of what you've done before. It's a process, a continuous process. And it could be, and generally it is, an event that occurs to you. Could be something in the news, could be a meme on the internet, could be something like that triggers a new spark of inspiration, and you want to treat that new idea or new theme, but still within the context of your body of works. So, well, since it's really hard to build a work from scratch, especially in generative art, and especially in my case, because there are a lot of algorithms at stake in each work. So usually what I do is I start from an existing work, and I try to develop that, to change things and introduce new pieces of code, change a lot of parameters, and also try different seeds, meaning the randomness inside the generative art process. And so from one artwork, I'm going to evolve towards another one. And you can sometimes completely lose the artwork you're based on. You can end up having a completely different piece, even though you reused an existing artwork. Let me see. So, Emily, is it the only thing you want to know about the process? ID from ID to finished piece? Are you okay? Yes, cool. Then we have Aether asking, has your success in the digital generative art space informed your physical art practice, personally or commercially? Definitely, yes, 100%. Because as a painter with oil, I had a lot of audience in social media. Been invited to many festivals and all, but I never sold a painting because clearly the amount of time I was spending on a painting wouldn't make sense to sell those pieces, even when you don't have a value on the market. You need to start low, and that really didn't make sense to sell those works. And also, I was I had decided I was going to paint just for my own need for creation. It was very introspective, and there was no intention of marketing those works. With NFTs, it was different. I decided that I wanted to invest my time into NFTs, but I was also seeking some return on investment. I had no idea that it was going to work this much. I wanted to try, and I must say that the first time I made a sale, I was really shocked for a few days. I was like, this thing is working. It's actually working. So I was very dizzy in those moments. But yeah, it has influenced my production and physical production as well a lot because there was a lot of demand. For once, I've been receiving a lot of demands from exhibitions, galleries, and all, and thanks to generative art, I was able to have a production that made sense to put on the market. It didn't take me months to make a single physical work. So the fact that you can be productive is also part of the reason why you can enter a market. And so yeah, definitely changed everything. So, and personally, yeah, it changed everything as well because I've been working like crazy and completely lost ground. Actually, I've spent 2 years doing just that every day, every night, no sleep. So, on the personal level, it has changed a lot of things, and I have to say that I've been having a terrible lifestyle for 2 years and trying to catch up a little bit at the moment. Let's jump to Carolina. I haven't read the question yet. Plotting. Do you do that on your own with your own plotter or only through plottables for collectors or PNGs to vectorize? So yes, I'm using my own plotter. I'm using my own files because my code is capable of generating SVG files, so vector files already ready to plot. But I even went further than that. I developed my own plotting software. So basically, my work goes directly from the code to the paper, and it's all me. So vectorizing some PNGs, it's a difficult take. It's better to, I think, to be able to work in vector directly. You're probably going to be, um, well, I don't know. You would have to go through existing algorithm if you want to translate some PNG or JPEGs into vectors, and you are going to use some public algorithm that will, for the most part, look all the same. And there is not the same appreciation of plotted works that go through this kind of process. Like ready-made algorithm that can translate an image into a plotted work, they are not so well received. So it's better to develop your technique so that you can output an SVG file. So either you draw with Trader or any vector software, and then you can experiment with the plotters as well this way directly. That's what I think. Let's jump to Amanda. Is there something you like to do to make your relationship closer with your audience? Well, in the beginning, when I started the NFTs, well, this idea of going into NFTs, which happened actually 6 months later, but I didn't have any social media following anymore, but I had an old Twitter account that I had never used, and I had like 20 followers on it, something like that. And that day, I decided to turn on all the notifications on my phone, um, and I started to think about making one post a day. And I was actually making a work a day, a new plotter work a day, so you could see the evolution of my experiments with plotters. And the audience built this way. And also I was committed to reply to everyone and to talk to everyone in DM. And I could sustain this for a few months, but at some point the work was really overwhelming, and I couldn't reply to the direct messages anymore. And I felt a bit sad to little by little disconnect from my audience, from the collectors especially. But people understand. People understood that. But in the beginning, it was important to be able, yes, to speak to people directly and being grateful for every collectors. And yeah, it takes some time, but this commitment, it's visible. People can feel that, so it helps a lot. Yeah. And now I'm doing too many things to the point that I'm tired and I'm always running after time, and I don't manage to connect anymore. So I'm not trying anything to connect more with people. So yeah, I'm happy to be there. But if you were speaking to me like 2 hours before, I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't have time. And now I'm really happy to be there. Okay. So what's next? Pavel? Oh, lifestyle and work-life balance. As I mentioned, it's been terrible. Uh, I don't even know if I can really speak about that. Well, I've been doing all those nature-inspired works, but it's been 3 years since I haven't gone on a hike in the mountain. I used to love that so much, and I haven't done this in so long. And yeah, I'm basically in my studio, uh, working, especially at night. And at some point, I'm exhausted and I get some sleep a little bit. Need to wake up for my kids because they have to go to school. And then I'm really sleep deprived. So I take naps in the middle of the day. And when you wake up from naps, you're really confused. And it takes a few time before you're up to work again. So this is my routine and it's terrible. So he's saying you spot a podcast that was titled Following Crypto Market as a Family Person. Oh, yeah. PR, marketing, self-development. You have to do all at once. And it's truly exhausting. I don't have strict hours of work. I basically work all the time. But I'm every night with my kids to have dinner and to read bedtime stories. Um, I have two daughters. One is a 9-year old, and the little one, she's 4.5. So I'm every time I can, yeah, I'm there to have this moment of connection. But during the day, I can't. And then once they are asleep, I go back to my studio and start real work. So yeah, it's hard. It's exhausting. I'm not gonna lie. Amanda, you're asking if I can show some of my paintings. Uh, yeah, for sure. Let me go to my very old website and let's see what I can show you that I'm not too ashamed of. So yeah, this one, for instance, is interesting. Let me see. Oops. Copying the link, for instance. This is a work that is called The Book. You can click on the image to see it a bit bigger. And this one is a painting, for instance, that was a representation of a forest. Usually I was painting figures. I had a lot of training into the nude figure. So I really loved anatomy as well. And I was really into placing people into my paintings. And that one was, yeah, deprived of people, which is probably the only one. And yeah, that was the kind of painting I was doing. And I also, at some point, I've been trying to find a middle point between my passion for painting and the passion for programming. So I've been trying different things, and I developed a project at some point that was about uh, transforming the paintings into 3D So it was a technique called 2.5D. You try to find the depth inside your inside a photograph, or in my case, the paintings. Maybe I have some video about it that I can show you. And I worked a lot on that project, and even made an interactive exhibition with some of my paintings. Let me see. Well, I don't manage to find the video. Anyway, so yeah, I've made some attempts to solve this dichotomy of being active in such very different fields, and I never really managed, in fact. And I would say it's only now with this generative art type of work that I managed to solve this lifelong dichotomy. And sometimes it was even some kind of schizophrenia, because I was working on computer and into programming during the day, and going back home, I was painting all night, sleeping in the morning, going back to the painting I was doing the day before, because you have to also take care of drying times and all. And when you do all, there are some parts that can only be worked out after a few hours of drying. So I was painting in the evening, in the morning, and then dropping the brushes and going to the office to work for my company, to do some programming. And this schizophrenia lifestyle every day. So I'm really glad nowadays, because, well, I don't paint anymore, but it's extremely fulfilling to feel complete. Yeah. Moving from Moz to generative art, do you dream in paint or code? Lately, yeah, mostly dream in code, I would say. I still have this sort of flashes. This is what my inspiration when I was painting always came in flashes. I could visualize the finished painting in my head, and I was like, wow, this I want to paint. Not every flash was a good idea eventually, but I had this image in my head. I could not always understand it, but and then it could take weeks or months until I understood what was this image was about. And when I had time in my schedule, when the previous paintings were done, I could go back to those flashes, to those ideas that I had. I had a notebook where I was listing all those flashes and ideas, sketching them very roughly. And most of the time when the idea came in a flash, uh, it ended up being a very good painting. You know, I would say better than constructing your idea from scratch. And I still sometimes have those kind of flashes, but yeah, I mostly dream about algorithms. It's more feverish kind of dreams, but yeah, it can be obsessive. I agree. So, yeah, anything else you would like to know?
Oh, I'm looking at your paintings right now, and they're really like they have the same feeling as your code works. I mean, uh, the colors and the forms are really close, and I think it recognizable. And also, I would like to ask if you think of recreating people like in code, like you did in paintings. Yeah.
Yeah, that's well. So yeah, thank you for recognizing somehow parts of my style in the paintings. Well, it's I would say it's normal in the process of well in the past for an artist. What you do at the given point of time is loaded with everything you've done before, and all your experiences, even if your experiences are in very different fields, they all take part in your work, in your new inspiration or the way you work. And yeah, I think I had gathered from a painting everything that is related to composition, to color theory, to well, whatever is involved into a painting, and about people, it's extremely hard to imagine drawing people using just code. Although some other artists have tried it, but if if you aim for something realistic, it's probably going to be very, very complicated. I've been thinking about it, and it's not really a destination that I would like to reach, but I do want to include some people, and I've been doing a few attempts already. So the first one that I did, let me find you this, was, yeah, that one. That was made for, it's a one-on-one. Let me go to, yeah, maybe on OpenSea is not the best place to watch it, but so this work, The Rebirth of Venus, is mixing up a figure with my algorithm, and I've been using a painting by a French painter from 19th century, Amaury Duval, and it was supposed to illustrate the period of the Medicis, the Renaissance. And I used for the first time in my generative artwork an external image. So it was a JPEG. It was actually a black and white picture on which I drew some dots to place some key points on the figure. But then this image, so this external media that I fed the code with, has been treated with code. So, and this is the way I choose to introduce a figure in my work. And there was a very great feedback about this work, even though it was not as pure as a fully generative artwork that is using only code. People didn't react negatively to that. They just trust the artist's process and his inspirations. And my collectors think it is a very significant piece in my body of work. And then I've jumped from this one to, let me see, there's another one that I did recently. Yeah, that one, which is beautiful, I think. It's on object one, so yeah. Moving Towers to Catch a Sunset in New York. It's a collaboration with Alexandra Art, and she proposed the pose and the silhouette of her, and I mixed it up with my code, and we did this. We did the text together, and it was very interesting collab where, yeah, not just not only a figure, but also another artist is a collaboration participating in this piece. So this is my way of introducing some figures in my generative artworks. Waiting for another question. Oh, maybe there is one I've missed. Aether, if everything exists on the continuum and red sits on the other pole relative to green on the color wheel, how does the color red make you feel? Oh, wow. Yeah, I tend to attach some meaning to the colors. Color red, it's a passionate color for me. It's just, yeah, as simple as that. It's the color of poppies. It's a beautiful color. I don't use it so much, but when I do, it really pops. Have you experienced have you experimented with hand paint digital hybrids, possibly adding a layer of paint to digital output? Is that of interest? Very interesting question, because this is the way I was envisioning my generative art, thanks to plotters, and this is what I was looking for in the first place. Coming from painting and drawings, I really thought that my my destiny was to do this kind of a mashup, and my intent was to draw a figure, a character on paper, and then to make the code that would be capable of drawing a plotter on top of the physical drawing. So it was really risky, because you run the risk of ruining your drawing if you didn't have a lot of experience in your plotting technique. So it was really my intent in the first place, and I developed algorithm to be able to photograph a drawing and get a mask of this, and try to have all the code to take into consideration this part of the drawing that you've been masking. So it was quite complex, and I've tried something actually, and I was disappointed. I was disappointed with the outcome. So, and also, this is when I understood that the reception of this kind of mixed media wasn't going to be that good, and that there was more interest into purely coded works among the collectors of NFTs. So generative art was meant to be in the beginning only with code. And now, as I mentioned before, it's kind of okay to mix both. On FXH platform, for instance, it's totally not forbidden to introduce some external media into the code. So I suppose that making an artwork that is both hand drawn or painted, and then plotter on top of it, would make a lot of sense. So maybe I would go back to this someday. I don't know. And actually, we did an exhibition in Brooklyn in April with a company called Art Matter, and who is developing some very special kind of plotters. And we've been developing techniques such as charcoal or a brush and transforming my generative work into real life paintings. So it's not, I wouldn't say that it's hand drawn or hand painted, but it had a little bit of that. Because it's not because you are using robots that people are not there. On the contrary, there had to be a team that was really helping the robots to draw correctly. And it's a lot of trial and errors to manage to have a robot draw correctly using human tools. And still, even with a lot of human help, the robots are still very clumsy. Thank you for all the little hearts. Waiting for another question. So Estelle, I would like to know if you feel pressure to maintain the same style. Is it something in your mind in any way? Yeah, that's a really good question. I wouldn't say that it's a pressure. Maybe even the opposite. I can hear sometimes some people who would like me to try something else, to not be using nature again over and over to into my works. As I said, I'm feeling very comfortable with the idea of using nature because it's not just a representation of nature. I'm using it as a symbol. I'm using plants like I would use brush strokes. I just have a few plants, but I reuse them all the time. It's just the way you arrange them, the way you distribute them on the screen, and you can have something totally different with a completely different meaning. So I'm comfortable with staying in this style for the moment. But yeah, at some point I would want to explore different fields. I don't feel the pressure. I think it's good to have a consistent body of work. I think, well, you're lucky if you end up finding a style that people can recognize at first sight. This is some kind of a grade for artists. I know many artists have trouble to focus on a given style and want to try so many different things. So it's a balance that you need to find between a recognizable style and body of work and something that is varied and evolving and reinventing itself at the same time. I suppose that I could fall into this kind of this type of artist who has seasons or periods across his career. So for the moment, I'm into my generative plants period, but maybe at some point I will switch to something completely different. I don't know yet. How did you feel about your art career before you found NFTs? Yeah, art career. So yes, I mentioned that for when I was doing paintings, there was no intention of selling my work. At least the originals. I've been selling like prints and reproductions and postcards when I was going to when I had a booth in a festival or stuff like that. And with code, I had a development studio. We were two people doing mostly works, commissions for mostly museums and public contracts. So doing stuff like touch tables, video projections, and all. But a part of our work was artistic and on our own intent. And we were doing video projections in the public space, like video mapping on buildings, stuff like that. So it was definitely artistic, but we were a duo, and it was more like a brand name rather than a person's name. And it's always been very hard to be at the same time development studio working with clients. So with this perception that you are very corporate, and at the same time being like a real person, an artist with their own intent, and it was really hard to find this the right perception for what you were doing. And as soon as I started to with the NFT, thanks to the NFT, to show my generative work under my personal name, it changed completely the relationship with my type of work. It changed completely the perception. I mean, I was doing the exact same kind of artwork, meaning with the same skills, the same graphic style somehow, but when you do it under your name and you can sell under your name and as an artist, well, the perception is completely different and so much better. So basically, to summarize this, I didn't have an art career before NFTs. But I've been making art all this time, since I'm very little. I've been trying so many different things, never stopped, but not as a career, so to say. So Emily, question about overcoming challenges. Do you ever struggle to know when a collection is done or get stuck figuring something out as you develop one? Let me understand that. To know when a collection is done. Yeah, this is a question I've already received because collectors want to know the size of a collection. I think it's more as an investment standpoint. They want to know how many pieces they should expect so that maybe their value doesn't dilute in a too large number. I don't know really. Well, some collections have a finite number of pieces that is decided beforehand, and then you can announce that. Some other are just something that you are going to augment or fill up depending on your inspirations or depending on the new works you're doing. You will say this belongs to this particular collection or this belongs to something new. Well, I don't have a general rule for that, but it's definitely something that you think about when you develop a new collection. You kind of know where you're going. And get stuck figuring something out as you develop one. What do you mean by this? Like, for instance, wanting to add a new work to a collection and not knowing what exactly should be there, what exactly I could do. If this is the meaning of your question, well, yes, that could be. That could be, for sure. But I don't know, you should not rush it. If your work doesn't fit, or if it doesn't feel right, well, just give it time and something will come out of it. I think the most important is to keep on creating. Even bad works, you just need to keep on. And at some point, you end up doing something great every time. Mhm. Yeah, it went by so fast. Yeah, yeah, yeah. When you speak, it's always like that. Yeah, time flies so fast. So, hope that was interesting. Yeah, if I missed something in the chat, do tell me. Uh, how much time does a project like your FXH projects take to make? Ooh, it really depends. For Garden Monoliths, the first one took a couple weeks, but because I already had the code, in fact, but I was transforming my code to fit with FXH, the FXH platform, and the idea of uh, features and variety, and but the code basically was there already. It was the one I was using to make my curated images. Um, some series like the Bug Forest did it in 2 days. It was just crazy, and I barely tested it, and that was the point. The idea was to just release the control. So there was a bug inside it. It was not very prepared or controlled. It was just very raw, very spontaneous, and threw that into the world and let it behave the way it wants. And it worked great. So 2 days seems um, very small time to spend, but yeah, it's a lifelong experience that's behind it. And of course, the code was not written in 2 days, but from the idea to the release, yeah, that was just 2 days. And yeah, other collections can take much more time, but as I mentioned previously, I'm not uh, creating something from scratch. And I think no coder does it from scratch. And I think you can tell the same about any type of art. An artist is not going to make a piece completely from scratch. It's going to reuse something, some process that he knows, some things they've done before. And so it's the same with code, but also I think it was very well thought of in the beginning because I made a framework that was enabling me to iterate through my creations, to save my code sketches and reuse everything, reuse part of my code, and also change a lot of parameters in my code. So yeah, the structure of it makes it easier for me to release a new work nowadays. And it evolved as well. My framework evolved into um, functions that allow me basically to push a button and get a generative art project just like that. And I'm doing this for every new work that I do, even if it's just for a static image. I push that button to save the entire code that allows me to generate this particular image. And I will be able to use that later. For instance, if I want to change something into it, or if I want to export a very large resolution version of this image, I know the code is there and it's not touched. And but I could possibly uh, transform any of my image into a long form project, a generative project on FXH. But sometimes I can spend weeks doing just one static image and I just don't manage. So really depends. We good? Okay. Sure. Sure, sure. Um, well, you can always go to my Discord. I have a Discord. Uh, is pretty quiet at the moment. There have been some hectic moments. Let me give you the link. I'm very clumsy with Discord, so I don't know. You found it? Yeah, and doing so, I've lost I've lost the chat room. VCA, what's it called? Crypto? Where is it? Oh yeah, got it. Yeah, that's the one. His name's Zancan. So you can always ask a question here, and from time to time, I go there and find some question that I can answer to. But there is also Darek, who has set up this Discord for me. He's always there to ask the question when something he knows, obviously, and I can answer to. So feel free to get there and yeah, ask me anything. Thank you so much, everyone, to be there, to have been there, and for your great questions, very interesting ones. So that was a great moment. I was stressed a little bit, like always, and then was very friendly and very nice. Thank you very much.